Welcome to the Gospel Hour with David. Glad you guys made it. Isn't it a wonderful feeling to know that Jesus is alive, and not just alive, he is out for our best interest. If you've been following along through any of my messages, videos, or audio recordings, you know that I made the I Matter audio reading of writing I've come up with or have written. And I pray and hope that you would seek out and take a little time to find that message and try and absorb it. Yeah, it's an audio reading of something that's written, but there's a lot of great information in it. And that's what I want to talk about today, is extending that kind of message into a new message, which is not really a new message, but one we've had from the beginning. What is it we're trusting God in? What is it we're going to trust Jesus Christ in? And in the Bible, we can see many different things and many different situations. Many different gods, many different miracles, many different things. But there's one thing that's common and a common thread throughout the entire Bible. And it is how people have overcome adversity. Right? It's all about adversity. A lot of my videos, I'm complaining, and it's not complaining, but it's exposing the enemy for what it is, or the adversary for what it is. Go back at Hebrew times, and in the Bible it says the name of Satan are called Hasatan, right? And then today we got Satan, but it was Hasatan, and Hasatan means literally enemy, or the adversary. And so we see in the Bible, it's all about overcoming adversity. So it could be different for everybody. That's why there's many different people and many different stories in the Bible. We got Noah's story. He overcomes the flood. He overcomes, and that was his adversary. Different for each one of us. See, each one of us in the end are in our own little bubble, in our own little world, and we are trying to survive. That goes for you, that goes for me, that even goes for my parents, mother, father, siblings, whoever it is, same for you. Each one of us in our own place, in our own spot, has an adversary, and it's different for each one of us. Maybe the one common thing the adversary has over all of us is our lack of faith or lack of belief. If you went through the I Matter reading, you'd see I kind of explained my story a little bit and all the evidence God provided for me personally in my life in order for me to believe it. And that was my adversary right there, that I could believe it. That I could believe I was chosen by God. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people misrepresent Jesus and God and accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. And I say this is different. It's more like surrender to the fact Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. Accept or surrender to. I don't know the difference, but maybe you do. Maybe it's the same, but it's a surrender. Surrendering to all of God's wisdom. We've got the I Matter thing, and we all matter. I matter, you matter. Excuse me. But we all matter. And we matter to our surroundings, right? The bees matter to the flowers. Flowers matter to the bees. The trees matter. And everything has a purpose. Wipe out all the trees, right? We got problems. We have problems finding oxygen because the trees breathe off oxygen and all of it. Now, a lot of it identify the enemy or adversary. And in America, one of the greatest adversaries is the healthcare system. And it's not, all right, yeah, all you doctors and insurance salesmen and all that, you wicked, evil people. It's not about hating our enemies. It's about identifying who the enemy is or who the adversary is so that when we are engaged with them, we don't lose our self-worth, our self-esteem. Because they're going to tell you, you can't go to the doctor, you can't be healed unless we give you the okay. And they usually try and suck you dry. Now, we say about the church, one of my adversaries in life was the church itself. They didn't believe. I believed, and it took me a long time for me to believe that I was chosen by God to do something great for God, but not the church or no one else really believed it. And in all of it, that's what I've come to find out in my life. It's okay for you not to believe it. It's okay. Because my adversary never was your lack of faith or belief, or your willingness to accept me as a person or me as being a chosen vessel of God's will. And it's okay for you not to believe me, because that wasn't my adversary. The adversary was for me, myself, to believe it. And because I believe it, right, I'm here. I'm here to share my story. I'm here to share the evidence God gave me and how to overcome the adversary. One of the things in life, I'm going to be going back to work. I can't do full-time preaching the gospel of Jesus and spreading the gospel and interacting and being a witness for the gospel, because the community or Christian community sees no value in David, and so they have written me off, rejected me, and left me for dead. No one cares about my well-being. No one cares about my health. Nobody cares if I'm under poverty or impoverished. No one cares about these things. In fact, if I was gone tomorrow, again, no one would miss me. No one would care. And that's fine, and I got to live with that. And that's my comfort, is knowing that I matter to God. I matter to Jesus Christ. And if I don't matter to you guys, that's okay. Been to many churches in my life. Many different churches and different organizations, probably all of them. In different places, seeking God, seeking faith, seeking believers. People who believed in what I believed. And that was very hard to find. One thing I noticed about the church is the church will suck you dry and beat you down with guilt and shame of this paying a tithe. And how you have to pay a tithe. And you got to do it. And none of that is biblical. That is all wicked and evil people, unbelievers, who creep into the church and try to create a business. And they try to create a business for themselves. It's all about their personal gain. Right? Instead of the contribution to the well-being of all its members. Because I've been to churches where they go and take and take and take and take, and you keep coming in and paying your tithes, and they take and they take, and yet sign a deal with the government saying, I don't want to have to pay taxes or any of that thing. And I said, fine, you got to be a non-profit organization. So they never reinvest their money. They just literally blow it or spend it. And I don't know where they blow it or spend it, because they don't return it to the people or they're even their own members as they have needs. No, they're paying to mow the lawn in a building. They're paying to paint a building. Most of the churches just where I live in Denver, Colorado, the churches have been here for 50 and 100 years, all being run by the same people. So the building's bought and paid for. You don't pay taxes. And it's just a 100% collect. And yet they never reinvested into the well-being. And that's the thing that I've seen. I went to my adversary. I went to an enemy, and really, I have no enemies. I have no adversaries. It's all within myself. I myself could be my greatest adversary. And it comes through faith and trust. God ain't going to answer prayers. I've prayed every prayer could be made. And God doesn't answer them. God uses people. And you say, Jesus did miracles. Yes, he did. But Jesus was also a person just like us. He was a person just like us. That's why he came as a man, because God does miracles through the people and has always been from the beginning involved the people in this wonder-working miracles. The people were involved. So if we take away our involvement, if we don't want to get involved, then no miracles, no prayers get answered. None. There's people 38 years sitting at the temple waiting to be healed from blindness and leprosy and different things and being crippled, and until somebody took it upon themselves to engage, them people never got healed and they never got helped. And it's the same in our world. I go to an enemy and I say, man, I'm in such a bad spot. I've been 6 years without a pay or paycheck or any type of income. It's 100% outgoing and nothing incoming. And I need help. Not only do I need help, I'm in such a impoverished state that I need a vehicle. I can't even get a job without a vehicle or a way to get there. And all these things, and I explained my story to what I would call an enemy, but is no longer an enemy. We could be now allies. Same with David. There was times when the Philistines, as he cuts off the head of Goliath, but later goes to the Philistines for refuge from Saul and some of its other enemies, and they became allies instead of enemies. So that's why we need to make up with each other and bind up our wounds that have broken us down through life, whatever it may be, arguments or disagreements, whatever. But my enemy or adversary says to me, I'll tell you what, I will help you, I will show you compassion, I will show you mercy. Although I'm not a church-going person, I believe in a God, and not just a God, I believe in forgiveness. And I'll give you a vehicle, a job, and I will help you find a home. In fact, he says, this is what I'm going to do for you. Everything your faith could never supply. That's what I'm going to do for you. I'll give to you everything your faith could never supply. And my faith has always been in good people willing to obey the teachings of Christ. That love, compassion, mercy, and forgiveness are greater than hate, revenge, spite, and anger. It's greater than. Many of the people in the Bible, even in the time when Babylon came in to take over through Nebuchadnezzar, Jerusalem and Israel. Right? All the people hated being handed over to their adversary, their enemy, but God said, don't worry, I got a plan to prosper you. If they prosper, you prosper. And if you prosper, what harm is there in that? And so God has a plan in all of it. I've never been to a church where that they went and actually fed their own members of their community or church. Fed them, clothed them, housed them. Yet this man houses 50 men, his family. 50 men with 50 wives, plus their children, gives them homes and gives them clothing and gives them food. And the way to access health care. Have it accessible. And what church or what kingdom under the name of Christ is doing that today? And I haven't seen it and I haven't found it. So my faith in, I don't know, people, has failed. Yet I can say in my life, I know for sure God has answered every prayer I've ever made, including this one. Could it be that God is answering my prayer by using an adversary to feed me, to clothe me, to help me, to care for me? Right? And that's the thing, is everything matters. If we're going by the I matter formula, we don't know what God's name is. People will tell you Yahweh or Jehovah or Allah or whatever they want to invent for themselves, and they invent these names in order to separate people, keep us separated, divided. Oh, we believe we call on this name, and it's Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. Those are the letters. And they're all nouns or vowels, or consonants without no vowels. So, in it, what do we got? And I say God's name is I matter. And some people say it is I am or I exist. And there's many different things to say, but in it, all of it is I matter, right? It was Yahweh Jireh for Abraham as he's overcoming his adversaries. Right? Jireh, Yahweh Jireh, Jehovah Jireh, whatever you want to call it. I matter, and because I matter to God, God will provide. God will provide in the midst of the adversary. So Jesus comes to guarantee each one of us victory. Victory over our adversaries. And our adversaries are who? As we look through the Bible, the members of our own family, the members in our own house. See, we're all in our own world, we're all in our own bubble, fighting our own adversaries, and they're different for everybody. My adversary was believing I was chosen by God, that I mattered. And now that I believe it, now that I am fully surrendered to that, it doesn't matter what other people's opinions are or what they say. They have the right to not believe. I matter or don't matter. Chosen or not chosen. Because my adversary isn't between them and me. It's between me and God. And I'm just here to say that you may have visions. There's many people, our children, are going to have dreams and visions. And some of those dreams and visions may be from God. Some of them might not be from God. But nevertheless, what do we do with those dreams and visions? We cannot live on a dream or a vision, and we shouldn't be preaching dreams and visions, but we got to stick to God's word. We must trust in Him. Many people are so disgusted with the world, so involved in self-survival, and they can't see the world or the world's problems or their neighbor's problems. I can't help my mother and father and their problems because I got my own problems. And we're all just trying to survive in all this. And we do matter. We matter to God. Trusting in that is tough. And just because we are surrendering to our adversary, as David sometimes surrendered to his adversaries, he never broke faith. He never fell to their trap of believing their opinions or believing their abusive words about they didn't matter. Jesus will give us victory, and it's the victory over the adversaries that gives us fuel for tomorrow. Say we're a drug addict, an alcoholic, whatever it is. The victory of overcoming that addiction is the fuel that drives us into a better future, a better place. We can't wait for somebody else to help us. Many people, like I say, are so disgusted with the world that they're looking and seeking for that rapture. And the rapture was spoken of and has been talked of. And many people, when's this rapture thing going to happen or whatever? And it's not. It's just not biblically in there. In fact, Martha and Mary came to Jesus and said, we know our brother Lazarus is going to rise on the last day at this rapture. And they explain the rapture right there. And Jesus says, no. That's not how it's going to work. I am the resurrection. I am the life. And he says to them, had you believed in me, right, you could have escaped the weeping, the gnashing of the teeth, and the sorrows. Yet, as Jesus was showing them in their midst of their unbelief, that his love for Lazarus or the people or his word or his honesty wasn't determined through their unbelief. He wept with them in the midst of their unbelief. The Almighty God was right there with them in the midst of their weeping and gnashing of the teeth as they could not believe in God or I matter or that they were chosen. And God wept with them. He felt their pains. And he felt their sufferings. But it didn't take away his steadfast love from them or his faithfulness to do what he said he was going to do. And I think that's something we can grab onto in our lives. It's not about becoming angry with the insurance companies and the doctors and our brothers and sisters and whoever it is made of flesh and blood whom just cannot or will not accept us for being something good or being something great. And as so long as we're waiting for them. Remember the 10 virgins parable? And this is another example of how there is no rapture. Be like 10 virgins. 5 were wise.